All right, next up, we have Nicolette from Diversa Partners. Diversa is probably the top recruiting agency in terms of finding very, very highly qualified talent. They work with both public companies and also with startups. If Open Door wants to find a CEO, they go to Diversa. If Peloton wants to find a CFO, they go to Diversa. If a hot Series A, Series B startup wants to hire an executive, they go to Diversa. So I'm excited to have Nicolette here. Nicolette, why don't you come up? Are you ready?
I'm ready. As ready as I can be.
All right. My job here is to get all the insights you got out of your brain. Let's start with the mindset of founders looking to hire these executives, which I think is a pretty interesting idea. Everyone thinks about the work, the action of hiring, but there's a mindset component to it. And so what are the things that the best founders who get the best executives have kind of going into this process?
Yeah, and I'm really happy that Matteo and Alex went first because they were the perfect example of a lot of the things that I'm sure I'll talk about today. I think as founders and CEOs...
Please hire.
As founders and CEOs, you must craft a narrative that is so compelling that it transcends any pitch that a candidate is going to hear right after they hear yours. And we spend a lot of time with our founders war rooming these pitches. Even if it's mundane middleware software, your story really has to work. There's probably like 4 things that we focus on in that. And again, Matteo is a great example of it. Like that first is that founding story. Like it gives candidates an insight into you. That's really like the who. Like what made someone start this company? And I think if there's an opportunity, which a lot of times there are, of tying a personal connection into it, like his story about being a lawyer and losing sleep. If it's a personal story of I started this company living in my car in college, like it gives candidates an insight into really who you are as a person. The second thing is really explaining the uniqueness of your platform, kind of that like aha moment of why this is so unique and so special. So you've got the who and the why. And then the third and fourth are really around the details of your technology or your product, the really what, like what makes it work, what makes it special. And I would never underestimate the interest of like sales and marketing and finance executives to get into the very details of your architecture. So it's not just product and technology executives who want to know every detail. And I think today candidates can really sift through the noise of a job description, and what they're really looking for is true innovation. And so if you miss that opportunity to tell your story in a way that captures that innovation, you're going to miss the opportunity to instill confidence in you as a founder, as a CEO, and in your business.
What about on the other side? The candidates they're like doing like speed dating with a bunch of companies. So like what is their mindset, and what are some of the things that founders should understand when they're trying to recruit these people?
Yeah, it's a few things. We often summarize them into passion, prestige, and prosperity. Passion being, is this candidate more enthusiastic about your business than any other company that they've come across? Prestige is, does the role you're offering them provide them more growth and impact than their current role that they have today? And then prosperity is oftentimes the financial risk that they take for those long-term gains, and sometimes that's generational wealth creation coming to your company. I think candidates also look for in founders really humble leaders, and maybe I'd rather someone not have all the answers and say to a candidate, we're still figuring this out, but what they're really great at is that long-term strategic vision. Matteo's 6-hour write-up that he did that was the future of where 8 Sleep was going, like really being able to instill that long-term vision regardless of having all of the answers today. I think for candidates look for leaders who are able to embrace challenges, they're open to change, all of the things that I think instill confidence in you as a leader. And then some of the fundamentals that they look for are product defensibility and scalability, product market fit, asset-light business models, recurring revenue streams, competitive advantage, network effects, total addressable markets, and then a really clear exit strategy.
There's something that you call the 3 T's. What are those?
Yes. Team, TAM, and timing. Another thing that we talk about. So TAM, obviously your total addressable market. And it's not just about being big. It's not just having a big total addressable market. It's about pushing boundaries and dreaming big. I often take my founders through dreaming sessions and try to help them envision a business beyond their current product's success. The timing, tier 1 talent is really no different as they think about timing the way that venture capitalists are. Everyone wants to nail that perfect timing, and candidates are no different. I think timing can make or break a company's success, but if you have a really strong team, they should be able to prevail during difficult times. And then the team, these are not just a group of people. These should be a fundamental part of your company's story. They should be able to adapt and grow and embrace challenges, all of the things that you really need when working in a dynamic environment like a startup. You should also think about, strategic partnerships or anchor clients that you've brought on. These are all part of your company's narrative, and they should never feel random when you and the team are interviewing and meeting candidates. It should all really sound like a strategic vision that you all have together. And basically what you're doing is you're creating this beacon of de-riskers, an incredible team, a strategic vision, anchor clients, all giving someone the confidence, bringing that confidence back to someone that you have the kind of perfect scenario for them, but also really thinking about, well, when we talk about prestige, like weaving that story into, hey, I want to take my career to the next level, whatever some candidate's passion is or what they want in their life, they want to have generational wealth for their family, incorporating all of that into your story. So it's not just like, hey, we're this incredible company, we have all these incredible things, you should be lucky to come here. This is the place for you to achieve everything that you have ever wanted in your career. And so those are a lot of the things that go on in a candidate's mindset.
I think when you're going through the recruiting process, part is you're interviewing the candidate. You're trying to make sure, is this the right person to come work here? Do they have the skills? Are they a good cultural fit? All of that. But at some point you switch to, okay, they are the right person. Now I have to sell them. Is it a sequential thing, or should you be recruiting and kind of selling at the same time? Like, how do you think about those two different tasks being wrapped into, I'm trying to find somebody to fill this role?
Yeah, I think the best CEOs that I've ever worked with are the best recruiters in the world. And obviously they leverage us and what we can do to be helpful, getting them access to candidates that they would never have access to, but they are always selling. And so I always tell a founder or CEO, hey, this first meeting with a candidate, here's all the reasons I think this is a good use of your time, but you should spend 80% of that time going through that story, that founding story, sharing your strategic vision and capturing them, capturing their attention for a company that they've never heard of and probably didn't really want to maybe come meet you in their busy day. They're all full-time employees of other great jobs. And so I think it's really important that you're always selling while finding the opportunity to vet. And we, set up these very strategic, tailored processes for our clients to make sure that they have every opportunity to interview and feel comfortable and confident in the candidate that they're bringing in. And, founders and CEOs, if they're hiring on their leadership teams, spend 10, 20 hours with someone before making a decision. So you'll get plenty of time to interview and run your confidential backdoor references on someone and put them through working sessions and really see how it would be working with them. But you should always know that if you're recruiting a top 1% material impact executive, you're not the only company that's going after them right now.
What are the biggest mistakes that founders make when recruiting for these positions?
It's a few things. Look, I think candidates are stage sensitive. You should always think about hiring for where you are today and where you're going over the next couple years, not the next 10 years. If you're an early stage startup, you need a CFO who is flexible and can work in uncertain times. You don't need someone who's got public corporation experience. But if you're a late stage company looking to go public in the next year or two, you should probably bring on someone who's got, understands how to work in public complex markets, understands SEC regulations. So really focusing on the stage and the problem that you need to solve more in the near term. Another thing is like balancing high will versus high skill. I always advise go for the candidate who is driven and ready to embrace challenges. I think high will often surpasses high skill when someone is motivated to adapt and grow. And to me, I think those are really invaluable skill sets, regardless of where someone is from a technical perspective. I also think, look, and we've been talking a lot about this over these past couple years, is the wartime operators and the peacetime operators. If you're moving at a rapid pace, you need someone who is good at moving quick, making decisions, and can thrive in more like uncertain times. And that's really different than when things are stable. And you need people who are good at operational efficiency and focus on profitability versus growth. And then the last thing that I always try to advise is don't hire for the sake of the press release. I think short-term buzz does not guarantee long-term success. And so focus more on finding the candidate who is a great fit for where you are today, where they're gonna take you over the next couple of years, and that they're a great culture fit with you and your team.
What about structuring compensation for these people, especially if you're a startup and this may be the first or second big executive hire that you're making? I think that I've seen a lot of founders are kind of shocked at how much a Facebook or a Google can pay someone compared to what their budget is. And so how do you kind of bridge that gap?
Yeah, we try to align very early on compensation expectations. This goes back to like the stage sensitive thing. If you're a Series A company, it might sound cool for a minute to hire a VP of engineering out of Facebook, but that person is making close to $10 million in cash a year. Probably not the right person for you today, even based on their skill set. And so in your early days, you should want someone who is much more motivated by equity. They're bought into your vision and the business. And so oftentimes a lot of our growth companies, it's a much smaller cash distribution from like a base and/or bonus and a higher equity upside package.
How do you optimize the company to be attractive? So not just them talking to you as the founder, the CEO, or an executive, but the company itself. Are there things people can do to want people to come work there?
I think it's some of the things that we've covered. Like, I think, look, people go and they work for people. And people leave people. I really do believe that. So I think this is where your culture can play very favorably. So look, a lot of companies have great founders, great teams, great total addressable markets, some incredibly mission-driven businesses. But I think you should really focus on why you, because everyone else has a lot of those things. And so what makes this team, this culture, this place so attractive? We focus a lot on selling, not just the investors and what the product does and why the technology is unique, but look at the people that are working there. Look what they've done. Look what they've accomplished together or in their previous roles. And make sure that that really comes across as part of how we are positioning a business. I think those are really fundamental.
And then you mentioned earlier kind of working sessions. What are some of the things that people do through the process to maybe double check? You mentioned kind of confidential background. Just like how are the best founders doing some of these more actionable things to make sure that they've got confidence when they're hiring these people?
So I think founders spend a lot of time up front. The rest of their team will interview someone. We obviously interview people and spend a lot of time with them. But I always advise do some type of case study, working session. It's never really meant to feel like a homework assignment, but it should give you an opportunity to see what it would be really like working with someone, whether it's all right, take me through your first 90 days. What are you gonna do here? Or, hey, we have this real operational problem with our supply chain partners. What would you do to help us here? So it's sometimes also yes or no. It's not about the yes or no, like did they get this right, check. It's getting a chance to see how they think, how detail oriented are they, how in the weeds can they get versus staying high level. So you get a lot in that. I also think any I'm sure many people in this room could do an amazing job at interviewing someone in terms of what they've done over the years. I think a great interviewer is someone who doesn't just stay surface level into the what someone has done, but really how they've done something. But I think what makes an exceptional interviewer or recruiter is asking someone about a time that they've failed and how they've overcome that challenge. And what that really does is it gives you insight into someone's ability to adapt and grow and take feedback and be self-aware and move beyond. And all of that is about being resilient, which I think makes an incredible executive. And all of those skill sets are really needed when you work in a dynamic, fast-paced environment like a startup.
And then what are the mistakes that candidates make? Or like, what are the things that founders should look for that are like red flags? You've seen so many candidates go through these processes, and you have the benefit of seeing kind of the feedback loop. So you know the ones that worked out, the ones that didn't work. Or is there a common theme that candidates did something in an interview process that you're like, every time this happens, I notice it doesn't work out?
Yeah, I've been doing this for almost 12 years, and I can say now with confidence, where there's smoke, there's fire. If something seems off, it's likely off. I care much more about trying to get something right, and if it means we're gonna be in this search for 3 more months, I'd rather do that than in 3 months someone say to me, we got it wrong. And so, look, if someone's story doesn't seem truthful, if someone comes across a little arrogant or cocky, like, they're probably not like the greatest leader. And so we try to not just, give our opinion on, hey, we've interviewed them, we've asked them all the tough questions, but we do run a lot of confidential references. We leverage our network to ask them, hey, did you work with this person? Are they all the things that they said that they are? Or who would you recommend? And so I think it's really important to validate whether it's given references, to really make sure someone is who they say they are. But if you sniff something that is off, trust your gut on that. Like, I really would. I always like to give people the benefit of the doubt and give them a chance and let us, kind of double press on something that I think could be off. But my advice is if your instinct tells you something's off, stick with your instinct.
And then what about the alignment internal of a team? So you might work with the founders, the CEO, somebody like that, and there's usually one final decision maker. But what about building consensus among the team around a candidate? And I've been on both sides of these interview processes. It seems like the best companies have folks interview with maybe the entire executive team multiple times, and trying to get buy-in from the team in the hiring process, not just the one person who's making the decision.
Yeah, I think alignment is one of the probably 3 most important parts of running a successful search, whether you work with an executive search partner or you run it, as a leadership team or as a board when we do CEO searches. Before we say go, we want to meet every single yes or no vote on the hiring panel. So if it's the CEO, the CFO, the CTO, the CMO, those are the decision makers. I need to meet every single one of them, and I need to make sure that they're all aligned on exactly what it is that we're looking for. We make our, unicorn dream list, and we also force rank. Okay, this CTO, has to have come from a marketplace business. They have to have been at a company scaled from 10 to 100 million. They have to manage 100-person teams, whatever the criteria are. I also then ask everyone to force rank that to make sure that they're prioritizing the same things, because if you run a process and you burn cycles with a candidate, there is a real thing as candidate fatigue. If a process is too long, you're gonna lose steam with someone. You're gonna lose that engagement. So making sure as a group, however you are running a search, that you are all on the same page of what's important and how that ties back to the company goals is really critical.
What about working with you? Because part of this is everyone focuses on the person hiring and the person being recruited, but there is a third party here. You guys are kind of this external, business that they're working with, but you're also kind of the referee to a degree. You're kind of helping bring these two, groups or participants together. And so, what can founders do to work best with an executive search firm or somebody who's helping them in the recruiting process?
Yeah, I think a retained partner should really feel like an extension of your company. I think of us a little bit more as like a McKinsey consultant like, I work at your company. I want to tell your story even better than you can. And, I think it's important that you find a recruiter, if you're going to work with one, who really resonates with you. We spend a lot of time together, a lot. I call my founders on the weekend. I text them. I have late night conversations with them. And you really want to feel like there's a true partnership. I should feel like someone on your leadership team that you trust immensely, that we have vested interest in the success and goals of running this search together. I think a lot of it is about trust and style fit and reputable references and just being aligned on the ultimate goals that we have. So I think it's as important as when you hire a search partner as it is when you hire someone on your leadership team, because we're the ones talking to the top 1% of the 1% of the CMOs, CFOs. Like, in a way, we're kind of like a marketing engine for you too. And so you want to make sure that we are best representing your brand, you as a founder or CEO and your company, and that you also feel like you'd enjoy working with the person, because it is a lot of time together.
I think you guys are the best. Where can people go if they want to work with you?
Well, you can find us at diversapartners.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm a recruiter, so I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. And so those are probably the best places to look for us.
And if you message someone, you hope that they respond.
Yeah, please respond if I message you. That would make me really upset, especially as we've spent such lovely time here together.
Amazing. Nicolette, everyone.